you know who's going to help make sense out of it is Pedro da Costa.
Ah,
Because
we're so
Pedro,
glad to have Pedro.
you could tell what kind of week we've all had. Where normally Fridays I don't do an interview. I keep them open in case I need to reschedule people. I'm sorry I forgot. I'm
It's
glad you
my fault.
remembered.
I'm the one who switched it up from Monday to today, so it's
Yeah, well, old timers. I've been. You trade for, you know, 40 years or longer. You probably fry a few synapses. What do you
well,
think?
Dale, I'm going to check out here, but
All
I want
right.
to say have a great week, everybody. And then Pedro,
Yeah.
it's really nice to have you here, especially being a guy that has been in the room with so many Fed chairs over the years. I always respect your words and your insights. So I'm sure everybody here is going to as well. So make sure you all stick around for this interview. All right,
Thanks,
thanks,
All
Rick.
right.
Dale.
Well, all right. Thanks, team. Ryan came in. Blake.
Cheers, mate.
So,
Thanks a lot.
all right, guys. Have a great weekend. So, Pedro, what's your reaction to the Fed this week and the presser and the little bit of a battle going on between our new president and Jerome Powell?
Absolutely. It's been so I think you fry a few synapses as a Fed reporter over the years as well. So
Yeah.
I'm right there with you.
Okay.
Yeah, the week has been a whirlwind. The past 2 weeks have been a whirlwind, right? A lot of
Yeah.
announcements and reversals. It was actually I was inside. I was at the Fed when I found out that the spending freeze had been rescinded. So that's how volatile
Okay.
the week has been.
Yeah. They're
As far as the
making us
decision
they're
and
making us work harder, buddy.
oh, absolutely. Absolutely. I got to carry my laptop and MiFi with me at all times now, just in case, you know, because I also edit our copy for Canada, the Bank of Canada coverage, as well as as the Central Bank of Brazil and Mexico nowadays. So all of those, of course, are deeply affected by anything that Trump tweets or says. So I
Yeah.
really have to be on my toes beyond my Fed coverage. But as far as the meeting itself, I think it was kind of interesting because it was the usual two-step of the statement being a little bit on the hawkish side and reflecting more of the FOMC as a whole, and then the chair coming in and giving more of a dovish tone to things and softening the market. I think the market acceptance of the decision, if you will.
Yeah.
And I think the way I look at it is, from my perspective, the Fed might well be done cutting rates if the data don't cooperate. And if inflation picks up as many expect it to, or at least stabilizes at current levels. But they
Okay.
do want to keep the option of cutting open. They want to keep the story alive that they're in still in easing mode because they don't want the market to start pricing in hikes, right? They don't want the market to unduly tighten financial conditions. So they need to keep that story alive. So it's a little bit there's a little bit of a dissonant message there where they see upside risk to inflation and yet they still foresee more rate cuts. But at the same time, there was a kind of a new hawkishness, I think, from the chair in the sense that his message about being in no hurry to cut appeared to raise the bar a little bit for how much progress he needs to see. I do think we need to see kind of a string of decent
Weaker.
inflation reports
Yeah.
before he cuts again, and that I think takes us beyond March and probably at least until May before he starts to consider any more reductions.
Okay. So uh I think that there's a little bit of that was a little bit of pushback, don't you think? Um, Compared to what the demands of President Trump are.
Oh, absolutely.
For him to be firmer and we're not going to be bullied or intimidated by you.
I
To
think
we're
that's
good.
right. And there was the whole
Yeah.
tone of the press conference was, A, I'm not going to talk about anything related to politics, anything that appears even remotely political or related to a policy decision that the administration might be on the verge of making, right?
Yeah.
And he also had to skirt questions about all kinds of things, right? He was asked about, his Reuters had a story about how the Fed scrubbed the DEI language off its website.
Okay.
And And so, of course, the Reuters reporter asked about DEI and whether his view had changed, and he had to kind of dodge that question. And then there was the issue of the issue of rates themselves and whether they're going to keep cutting them. And I think there was a firmness there and the desire not to even come close to fiscal policy in any way. It's a third rail for Jay Powell, and he's not going to go there.
Okay. Yeah, the 10-year looks like, maybe back to 4.3, but that's a 4-hour chart. If you look at a daily, I still think we're going to challenge the recent highs and even take them out, Pedro. That
You?
we're just in a pullback, and I think they'll go for these levels again, even if we pull back to here. This is a big level, 430. What's your view? The bonds acted great when he did nothing. Okay, they didn't act great when he was easing. So
Yeah, I mean
maybe it's the bonds that forced his hand. You saw what the last couple of cuts did to yields, and this was it. I mean,
it is
so
quite striking. It's quite striking how the rate the 50 bip cut in September was basically the bottom in yields, right?
yeah, yeah,
And it's been ratcheting up ever since. So
yeah,
the policy worked exactly in reverse of how it's supposed to work. So I think that is part of the story, right? The market has tightened conditions for them. That might be what permits him to say that monetary policy is actually meaningfully restrictive. I think that was another important facet of the press conference.
hmm
He's clearly there's a big debate within the FOMC as to how far we are from neutral. And for the hawks, I think they all kind of agree that inflation is likely to keep falling. They're pretty sanguine on that. The disagreement lies between in terms of hawk versus dove, is how far do you think you are from neutral? So the Schmidts and Logans of the world think we are pretty close to neutral, and Bowman and the like. And Chair Powell and John Williams and people like that, they think that we're pretty far from neutral. And so that
okay,
means that you can do several more rate cuts before you're kind of at a break-even level on rates.
okay. And I'm looking for the bonds to make one more low as well. This could change the picture, don't you think? Since you and I last talked, Pedro, it's very possible that the dollar may have peaked. It's trying to recover now. Uh, Trump wants a weaker dollar to help, stimulate exports, um, make things more expensive for us. uh, that could loosen financial conditions, a weaker dollar. If this is a high and we're just getting, pulled back before the dollar takes another drubbing. What you
Maybe,
have a
man.
feel for it?
I don't, you're the dollar expert, you're the currency
Okay.
expert here, but I would say that I just think that if inflation does resurface, then we're going to get a level
Yeah.
of hawkishness from the Fed. If we do go into extended pause mode and the remaining rate cuts are priced out, then maybe the dollar gets a little bit more oomph in there.
Yeah. Well, do you think that Paul watches the gold market?
Oh, I'm sure he does. He watches it. Yeah.
Yeah.
It's
It's
been an
not
impressive
exactly a
run.
vote of confidence.
No, it's certainly not. It's certainly not.
What do you think it's signaling? And there's like all kinds of stories about shortages, and Bank of England's going to take 8 weeks to ship out the gold to whoever wants it back. Um, are we having some kind of confidence crisis within the financial community that's being expressed in this market?
So the shortages you're talking about are shortages of gold, like bullion?
Yeah,
Oh,
yeah,
yeah,
yeah. I mean, they can't deliver the Bank of England.
I didn't
Yeah,
even know about that.
yeah. It used to be a couple of days, and now they said it'll take 8 weeks. So I don't know. Maybe they're fabricating some in the basement. But gold kind of saying that the temperature of the financial system, that it has a fever for this to be happening?
I think the sentiment has definitely, obviously, I'm not saying anything new by saying that sentiment's taken a dive in the last couple of weeks, right? With the tech sell-off and all the
Yeah,
nervousness about tariffs and just the
Yeah.
high level of uncertainty. One thing that I have a hard time getting my head around is that markets hate uncertainty. Markets seem to love the Trump administration more or less, but there's a lot of uncertainty that comes with Trump 2.0 so far.
Yeah.
Uh,
Yeah.
we'll
Yeah.
see what they do overnight. That's going to be, I think, a big deal because I think
Yeah.
if they blink on the tariffs, uh, then that'll be a pretty significant signal, right? They've played up what's going to happen tonight. So if they do something substantial, then we go into trying to kind of scenario analysis about what happens next, what kind of retaliation there is, what kind of step up in the tariff program there is, how it's going to spread. But if they don't, I think it's going to appear that they're actually not really that willing to use that policy tool. So
Okay. Well, here's a, kind of like the blue chip of blue chips in China. And I would say that people are hoping or expecting that he's going to, be tempered on what he does with China.
yeah,
But
I
they
mean,
could be
so
wrong.
far he has not been very hawkish on China. So
Yeah. Plus, he's going to meet with Xi,
yeah,
right? So I can't. Well, who knows what card he'll pull out? But anyway, I've heard people that they like China, and if the dollar's turning, emerging markets, that should take the pressure off emerging markets and maybe some better performance than what we'll have in the U.S. with a weaker dollar, if it
well, the
happens.
emerging market I was watching this week, of course, was Brazil because they raised interest rates by 100 basis points. And what was interesting there is that they had a 2 month guidance about rates hikes of the same quote unquote same magnitude. So they indicated in December that this month and next month would be 100 basis point hikes. And they're one of the few banks hiking, right? Everybody else is cutting. But they have a fiscal problem on their hands. It's literally like a kind of it's not quite fiscal dominance, but it's a fiscal confidence crisis that has led to a sharp decline in the currency, which is forcing the central bank to counteract it basically. And they have a new central bank chief having to prove his kind of hawkish druthers. So they're having to
Yeah,
hike in full percentage point increments.
it's big.
Um, and
Another currency crisis in Brazil.
Yeah, it's not quite a currency crisis, but I mean it is for Brazilians it is. I was there for
Yeah,
Christmas actually visiting family and it was, front page news every single day. And the
yeah.
real was hitting all-time lows every single day. And I as an American visitor with dollars was feeling flush, right? Because everything was
Okay.
divided by six. So
Yeah, yeah. They all wanted your cash.
exactly. So it was, yeah,
Yeah.
like I would get when I got my credit card bill back for, we'd go out and I'd be like, oh, don't worry, I'll pay for it. And it was like 1,000 something reais. And then you'd get the bill. It's like, oh, that's like $160. It's like,
Besides Mexico, he really hasn't named or targeted any South American countries. And we know Brazil being part of the BRICS would not be, uh, in President Trump's friendly camp.
it's true.
Uh,
Although, I mean, I guess there was the brief Colombia spat, of course, but
oh yeah,
that
yeah,
was dead and gone within hours. That was
yeah,
another rapid
yeah.
fire reversal.
I wanted to water ski through the canal. Anyway, how about the Gulf of America? We'll go
It's
take a
still,
swim.
I Googled it yesterday and I know Google said they were going to change it. It's still Gulf of Mexico
All
as
right.
we currently speak, but we'll
Oh,
see.
all
It's
right.
kind of amazing though. I mean, that actually is a really fascinating aspect of, Trumpism. The idea of like a potentially expansionist
Yeah,
United States.
yeah,
Uh, I think the implications are pretty significant, even though people laugh about it and they downplay it. I
yeah,
think he's serious about a lot of what he says, and he's serious about Greenland.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
And I think that people need to pay attention.
The Japanese showed they were serious. Any view on what the BOJ finally in the, camp of raising rates, you think that's going to carry on? We held some important support here in the end, but I think that maybe, we could rally, but I think it's a failing rally and that the yen could strengthen this year. Um, what effect will that have on things like carry trades and JGBs? You have a view of what's happening in Japan and how it could affect things here in the U.S. I know
That's
that
a great
Trump,
question, Dale. So we've been kind of waiting for that effect for a long time as the
yeah,
BOJ started to turn its wheels and, and ponder hikes right after forever of
yeah,
negative and low rates. Um, but the effect really hasn't played out in any palpable way that I see market participants discussing broadly. So uh,
okay,
I'm not quite, and also they're, while they're they're hiking and the conditions have improved and they're stable enough to be able to get off the ground with rates. It's not like they can go that far because it's not like inflation is expected to take off in any significant way. So I just
okay.
wonder how much room that has to really run.
Well, it used to be a safe haven currency.
Yeah.
So maybe what's going to be behind it is, you know, maybe we have a growth scare. Right now everyone's focused on inflation and everyone believes the labor market is strong, but there are some people out there that have good reputations that say that the labor market's cracking right now, that there's going to be lots of job loss.
Yeah, there is that argument out there. And also one of the things I've been thinking about is the labor data is going to be really hard to read in coming months. A, because the immigration stuff might be affecting sort of job attendance in ways and hiring in weird ways, right?
Yeah,
Um, and and yeah, I think there's a lot of kind of seasonal issues that are going to cloud the data coming in the coming months. It's going to be hard to read. And also the other thing is with all this focus on cutting government jobs, that had been, of course, one of the huge sources of employment growth in recent months. So does that mean
interesting. Yeah,
that you get, a
yeah,
sudden decline in the payrolls average because of that? It
yeah,
could be. So
yeah.
something to watch out for.
All right. Well, I tell you what, I really appreciate you making it here today. I could tell that it's been a long week for a lot of people, including yourself. I want people to know about your site here, Pedro. So, where can they find on your site your stuff?
Absolutely. If you go to so Greg Quinn, who you see in the front page there, he's our Bank of Canada reporter. But if you go to the
Okay.
policy tab right there on the left and hover over it, if you go to the Fed where it says policy exclusives Fed right there,
Good. Okay. Yeah, I see it right there.
yeah,
That's you.
that's where you get all of our content.
Okay. All
So that's
right.
this interview there.
You got to follow Pedro. Everyone who's here, everyone who sees uh, the video later on, because it's a battle. This is a bank war, I think, is going to turn into between President Trump and Powell. There are people within uh, the movement of Trump that would like to get rid of the Fed.
Yeah, I mean, if Powell is very well equipped to protect the institution, like he's very good at the politics of central banking.
Yeah.
He's a master at dealing with getting backing from the Hill. Someone pointed out recently, a Fed's legal scholar pointed out that he's got broad support from somebody who hates him so much that she didn't vote for his reconfirmation, Elizabeth Warren. But when it comes to defending him from executive meddling, the Senate is willing to really step up, even including Republicans. So I think
Once,
Powell is pretty
oh,
well equipped to deal with it. Now it remains to be seen who he's going to appoint, of course, for Fed chair and for the upcoming openings and for governorships. But all the names that have been circulated so far are institutionalist kind of names. So
okay. But the Fed chair pick will be the president's.
it will be the presidents, and the names floated so far are people like Kevin Warsh, Mickey Bowman, Chris Waller, and Kevin Hassett. And so those are all respected and institutional names that,
Well, they're not going to be chosen.
well, we'll see. We'll see. I
All
mean,
right. Anyway, it'd be some. I think he's going to put in an FX trader in there to run the Fed. To take the dollar down. So anyway, Pedro, thank you so much, and clarified a lot of things. As I said, everyone, you got to follow Pedro to know what's going on. This is going to be a very, shall I say, interesting year with Fed policy compared to, Biden was completely gloves off. The gloves are on, right, Pedro?
they are.
All right, man. So we're going to see a heavyweight fight here. And Pedro, thanks. You're a champion on covering the Fed.
Thank you so much. Really
All
appreciate
right.
it.
I'll get a hold of you on X and we'll talk in the spring, buddy.
Sounds great.
All
Appreciate it.
right. Pedro da Costa, follow him on X at P da Costa and go to mnimarketnews.com to educate yourself about what's happening in the plumbing. And don't forget to not just count your pips, count your blessings. See everyone Monday. Do your work, get ready to execute, and be careful over the weekend. Lighten up is what I would say. React to the reaction, don't predict it. So that's a wrap, everyone. Have a great weekend. See you Monday. Adios. You're welcome. You're welcome. People are thanking you, Pedro. Okay.
Thanks, guys. Really
All right.
appreciate it.
All right. See you, everyone.
Take
Enjoy.
care.
Enjoy. There's more to life than money. Money comes and goes. Time is gone forever. Make it count. All right. And do what I say, not what I do. All right. See everyone Monday. See you, Pedro.
Bye, Dale.
Bye,
Thanks.
buddy.
Hey traders, this is Blake Morrow with Forex Analytics. Thanks for stopping by our YouTube channel. Don't forget to like these videos, share them, and subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of the content that we provide here for free. Thanks for stopping by. I'll see you in the next video.